Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Coons for Wellness Radio TV, and I am here with John Clifton. John Clifton is a farmer here in North Central Florida. Honey,
meat goats, and eggs.
Well, John, you have, people talk about the need for us to eat local honey, especially if you have any allergy sensitivities,
Right.
and local honey is supposed to be really good for you. But tell me about your honey and whether or not you use, what do you use to feed your bees?
We let the bees feed themselves. So during times of the year when it's really dry and we have to feed them, we'll feed them sugar water, but we don't harvest that honey. We only harvest when they make their own honey from flowers, from bushes. We live close to Orange Lake, so a lot of it's from the boggy areas. You get a lot of plants that they can get nectar and pollen from.
Well, John, I want to know, how do you know when they're through squirting out the sugar water? Because I don't like doing honey that has sugar in it.
Yeah.
And so I know that a lot of bee growers will feed their bees sugar water,
Right.
and so consequently you think you're getting honey, but you're getting honey with sugar.
That's right. So what you have to do is, when it's time to switch over to feed them sugar water, because there's nothing in the area for them to feed themselves, then you have to make sure you take off the part of the hive that you would harvest later on. And that way you know that what you're harvesting, you only put it back on after they've started foraging again. Once they've started foraging, once they can make enough honey on their own without getting supplemented, then you put on an extra, they're called supers, it's an extra, like a extra layer,
Yeah.
and that's what you get your honey from. So you only harvest when you only put that on when they're not getting sugar water. And that's what you harvest. And that way you can make sure that you're never harvesting honey from sugar water.
Because for so many people who are trying to have a diet or eat a diet that is, and reducing their sugar intake, white sugar, most people don't know that you can end up with a sugar honey.
That's right. Either because they've been given sugar water, or even more unscrupulous producers will actually add syrup from other stuff.
Wow, that's so
because
not
it's cheaper.
right.
You're
So
right.
not right. We're talking about people's health.
That's right.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you can see ours says raw honey. What that means is that
Raw honey from wildflowers.
wildflower. So it says wildflower because that means we have no idea. They probably get it from lots of different kinds of flowers. But what you want to make sure is that it's raw. When it's raw, that means it hasn't been pasteurized. Pasteurized means it makes it hot. Once you make it so hot that you pasteurize it, it kills all the pollen in it. Okay, and it's the pollen that helps you fight off allergies.
Gotcha. I need to get some
The
of
other
that.
thing is that you want to make sure that it's local honey. So if it's honey, let's say it's raw honey from Tennessee or raw honey from Texas, that's good. The problem is that the pollen in Texas is different from the pollen here in North Central Florida.
You know I'm from Tennessee, huh?
Are you? Okay.
Tennessee.
I did not know that.
No bad mouth in Tennessee.
I'm not bad mouthing Tennessee, and if you're going to Tennessee, you want to make sure you get some Tennessee honey
Right.
before you go there,
Right.
so that you can now build up your antibodies to the Tennessee
Right.
pollen.
The pollen is pretty bad here this time of year. We just had some rain,
Yeah.
which should have helped a lot.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad this time of year.
Yes, but that's the point. When we filter it, but that's all we do.
Yeah.
So you need to filter it to get out the bug parts and stuff like that. You wouldn't want to eat that.
Not really.
But it leaves the pollen, because the pollen is so fine that it just goes right through the filter.
Yeah. And so you have goats, you raise goats for meat, you have the honey, the
honey.
bees, and chickens. So
And
you have wonderful farm raised chicken eggs where the
right.
chickens actually eat the grubs. I can't remember the lady's name who is the world's oldest bodybuilder. She's in her 70s. Don't remember her name, but that's what she does. She eats raw eggs, but she eats raw eggs that eat grubs.
Right. Yeah.
What makes the difference?
Well, because if they eat grubs, that means they're getting a lot of protein. So normally, if it's industry grain-fed chicken. They're basically going to be fed. Their protein is going to come from soy. A lot of the soy is from who knows what sources. Okay, so the more they forage, the more they're going to be eating grubs and stuff like that. The other thing is that a lot of people will say that they've got free-range hens, or they'll say they have cageless hens. Usually when people say cageless hens, it just means they had a little run that's like 4 feet wide and 6 feet long, and that's what they're confined to. So they don't have a cage, so that's good, but still there's only a certain amount of grubs you can find on a 4 foot by 6 foot run.
Unless you're beating up your fellow hen to get it.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. So we've got about 50 hens, and we keep it at that level because that way they've got plenty of area. Since we have 6 acres, we got plenty of area that they can forage and they can find grubs and maggots and stuff like that, which are high in protein. And that means that they don't have to eat so much grain, which is supplemented with soy.
Gotcha. And it's really interesting how we're talking about a food supply that's based on what the animal is eating. Like what the chicken is eating determines on what kind of egg it's going to be.
right.
What the bees are eating determines what kind of honey it's going to be.
Yep.
And so many times people don't think about that. They just think I'm going to get some honey or I'm going to get the eggs, and they don't think about what the animal is eating, and whatever the animal is eating is what you're eating too.
That's right. And one of the things is, if you notice our eggs, and probably a lot of other people's around here, if it's a free-range chicken, the yolk is like a deep yellow.
Oh yeah, I grew up on a farm. Yeah, we used to have these good eggs. Yes.
Right, and that's the difference. The difference is that when you're getting store-bought eggs, and the reason why they're so pale is because the chickens are raised in a limited area. Even if they're cageless, they're still raised in a limited area on grain.
And you know what,
Not
John?
the amount of protein.
Yeah, somebody else told me that store-bought eggs sometimes can sit in warehouses for up to 2 years.
I don't know about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
That is amazing.
yeah.
Even if it was 6 months.
I would not eat it.
But we're all eating. If you're getting store-bought eggs, it's
That's right. You just don't know.
You don't
I mean,
know. You
that's
have no
the
idea.
biggest question, which is one of the advantages of buying it like a farmer's market from somebody who you know. Then you've got somebody who you can go back to
right.
and complain if necessary.
Talk to us about your eggs and the fact that you wash them before you bring them here, because when I was growing up, my mother would have eggs sitting on the table, and I often wondered, why is it that they tell you now that you've got to put, my hair standing up in the air, why you got to put the eggs in the refrigerator, when my mother used to have a big bowl of eggs that we would get from the hen house
Yep.
sitting on the table all the time.
So there are two. It depends on whether you're from Europe or whether you're from the United States.
Okay.
In Europe, people don't bother washing their eggs. When eggs are laid, the hens lay them with a coating around them, which basically keeps out any of the air from getting into them. Okay? As soon as you wash them, you wash that off.
Gotcha.
Now, people in America don't like a bit of chicken poop sitting on their eggs.
Gotcha.
Okay? But people in Europe, they got smaller refrigerators. They can't store a dozen eggs, or they'll go and buy 3 dozen eggs, and you've got a small refrigerator. You can't store that for an indefinite period of time. So in Europe, people just get used to having a bit of chicken poop on their eggs. You leave it on there until you're ready to eat it, then you wash it off.
Wash it off then.
And eggs actually, they've actually done studies, and washed eggs that are kept refrigerated last just as long as unwashed eggs that aren't refrigerated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just a difference in your culture as to what you think tastes better.
Well, we certainly used to keep them on the table,
Yeah. there's
and
nothing
there
wrong
was
with
never
that
a problem.
as long as you
And
don't
yeah,
wash them
right,
first.
because we were not washing them, and every once in a while we'd have some chickens who would just lay anywhere. Sometimes they
Yeah.
get a little trifling and they just go lay wherever they want to,
Yep.
and don't lay in the nest where the
right.
straw would be.
That's right.
Okay, all right, and very, very interesting, very educational. So, thank you very much, My Mosaic Acres.
My Mosaic Acres. That's right.
And your eggs, you got extra large and large and medium.
Sometimes medium, but our chickens don't like to lay medium eggs.
Oh, you got some big shots.
We got some big shots.
John, thank you very much. I
thank
appreciate it. Appreciate you talking to me. I'm going to have to come back and get some honey that you are guaranteeing me that does not have any sugar water.
You bet.
All right, good
That's
deal.
right.
Good deal. Thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you.
I'm Pamela Coons here at the Gainesville Farmers Market, Union Street Farmers Market, where we're enjoying this beautiful afternoon. Little children running around and having fun. Lots of things to taste, lots of things to see. The musicians on stage playing. It is a lovely day here. We thank you very much for joining us. We will be back a little bit later on to show you some of the other sights and sounds of the Union Street Farmers Market. I'm Pamela Coons for At the Well Wellness Radio TV. Remember, there is healing at the well.